how much of your concern about AI and its direction would go away if they were not conscious or did not have subjective experience? Is that relevant to it? Does that just accelerate the catastrophe?
I think the importance of that is that it makes most people feel relatively safe. Makes most people think we got something they haven't got or never will have. And that makes us feel much safer and much more special. We're not special and we're not safe. We're certainly not safe because we have subjective experience and they don't. But I think the real problem here is not so much a scientific problem as a philosophical problem, that people misunderstand what is meant by having a subjective experience. I want to give you an example to show that you can use words. You've got a science background, so you probably think you know what the words horizontal and vertical mean. I mean, that's not a problem, right? It's obvious what they mean.
Sure.
And if I show you something, that one's vertical, that one's horizontal, right?
Sure.
Not difficult. So I'll now convince you actually had a wrong model of how they work. Not totally wrong, but there were significant problems, significant incorrectnesses in your model of the terms horizontal and vertical. Okay, here we go. Suppose in my hands I have a whole bunch of little aluminium rods, a large number, and I throw them up in the air, and they tumble and turn and bump into each other. And then suddenly I freeze time. And I ask you, are there more that are within 1 degree of vertical, or more within 1 degree of horizontal, or is it about the same?
Say it's approximately the same.
Right, that's what most people say, approximately the same. And they're surprised when I tell you there's about 114 times as many that are within 1 degree of horizontal. That's kind of surprising, right? How did that happen? Well, that's vertical. And this is vertical too. 1 degree of rotational freedom. That's horizontal. And this is horizontal too, but so is this. So horizontal has 2 degrees of freedom. Vertical only has 1 degree of freedom. So here's something you didn't know about horizontal and vertical. Vertical's very special and horizontal's to a penny. That's a bit of a surprise to you. Obviously, it's not like that in 2D, but in 3D, they're very different. And one's very special and the other isn't. So why didn't you know that? Well, I'm going to give you another problem. Suppose in my hands I have a whole bunch of little aluminium discs. And I throw them all up in the air and they tumble and turn and bump into each other. And suddenly I freeze time. Are there more that are within 1 degree of vertical or more that are within 1 degree of horizontal, or is it about the same? No, there's about 114 times as many that are within 1 degree of vertical.
Interesting.
So that's vertical, and this is vertical, and this is vertical.
Yeah.
This is horizontal,
Yes.
and this is horizontal,
Yes.
but it's only got 1 degree of freedom.
Right.
So for planes, horizontal is very special and vertical's to a penny. And for lines, vertical's very special and horizontal's to a penny. So that's just a little example of you have a sort of meta theory of how the words work. And that meta theory can be wrong, even though you use the words correctly. And that's what I'm saying about all these mental state terms, terms like subjective experience of.